Hello, it's me, Robin, with Simple Food, Simple Life. Today, we're going to make some broth. And we're going to do it in the crock pot. It's really, really easy. What I have here is some chicken bones, I've got some carrots, and I've got some celery. This celery was a little less than, but still usable. And I've got some onion ends and pieces. And inside this container already was some onion skins. They add nice color, nice flavor too. Right here I've got a bag of frozen vegetable scraps. This is part of my scrap cooking. And in this we've got some cabbage, the cabbage core, some carrots. I think there's a little bit of celery in there. Anyway, that's what's in there. Those things are going to add lots and lots of flavor to our broth. Now then, I'm not going to add any salt to this. There's plenty of time when it's all done to add salt. I am going to put in some garlic pepper. If I had garlic or scraps, or excuse me, garlic powder, if I had garlic or scraps of garlic or peel or whatever, I would certainly use those. I'm going to throw in a little bit of minced onion. That adds its own little unique flavor. And I am also going to add in some, if I can find it here, some Italian seasoning, only because of the benefit of the oregano and those kinds of things. And I'm going to put in some basil as well. Put some of that in. These are some basil leaves that I dehydrated from what I grew this past summer. Isn't that convenient? I put it in a basil bottle. And I am going to put in some fennel leaves. This is just some dried fennel leaves that I dried also from my garden. I have a very small garden dispersed here and there throughout my yard. Okay, all right, I think that's going to be it for that. And now we're going to add some water. This is warm or hot water. And all we're going to do, we're just going to turn our crock pot on high. This is 2 quarts of water. It just depends on how big your crock pot is, or your slow cooker, how big all that is. And we're going to pop the lid on this. I'm going to let this cook for until the bones are soft and crumbly. Okay? Alright, when it's done, we'll be back and then I will show you how we're going to process this. Thanks for sticking with me today. Listen, do any of you make your own broth? Let me know if you do in the comments below, and I will see you after a bit. Okay, I've got some milk that is past its use by date. I won't say how far, but anyway, it does not smell sour at all, but I think that I probably should use it up. So I'm going to make some ricotta cheese. So this is actually about a ½ gallon of whole milk. Probably a little more than a ½ gallon. And I squeezed a whole lemon here. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to heat this up. I'm just going to bring it to a simmer till it's bubbling around the edges. And then I'm going to add the lemon juice to it. And it's going to be magical. Okie doke, this was starting to get bubbly, so I'm going to add my lemon juice. If my lemon juice is not enough to start the curdling process, I will add a little vinegar as well. But hopefully this will be enough. Now I'm going to take this off the heat and I'm going to see it start to curdle up a little bit there. I'm going to take it off the heat. The heat's off, and I'm going to take the pan off the burner, and I'm just going to let it sit until it cools off. Then we will strain it. Okie doke, this ricotta mixture has cooled down quite a bit. You can see, I think, that it is, you can see the curds that have come to the top. Now, just so you know, I did put some white vinegar in this as well because the mixture looked a little too milky, and I wanted it to get clear, more clear, so that there would be more, there would be the whey and also the curds and whey. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain this off into a strainer. Now I've got a strainer here, I've got it lined with some paper towel, and I've got this bowl, and we're going to, I also have this is also a strainer, so I'm just going to put the curds in the strainer, while straining as much of the liquid off as I can. You don't really need to stir it or anything. The best thing to do is not to disturb the curds. Disturb them as little as possible, because you want them to stay large. Well, at least I do. Now, this mixture is warm. It's a little bit hotter than warm, but that's okay, because it's going to finish cooling off in the strainer. Now I am going to strain the rest of this off. Good morning. It's the next day. It's actually about 7 o'clock in the morning, and this has been, it was on high since yesterday at 1. I turned it down about 6, and the broth has been on low since about 6 o'clock yesterday evening. So let's take a look at it. Let's see what it looks like. It looks disgusting. But that's what we want. We want it to look disgusting. All that means is that the bones have broken down. There's one of the bones. And all the vegetables have broken down. So I've turned it off, or going to turn it off, and we're going to let this cool off before we process it, because it's very, very hot. Okay, this has cooled down enough that I feel like I can handle it safely. It's warm, but not as hot as it was. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to remove the vegetables and the bones from this. I'm going to do that first. If I were to take this and try to dump it through a strainer, it's going to splash. It could make a mess and hurt me. And so we don't want to do that. So I just got a large strainer here, spoon, and I'm going to take these out, most of them. In some of my previous videos, you might have seen me do this. And this is my method. This is what I do. You can do it however you feel comfortable. My premise is I don't want to waste what I've already done, and I don't want to, and safety is important to me. Safety in the kitchen. Let's look here for a minute. This is one of those leg bones. See how it's not as crumbly as I would have liked, but that's all right. I would have liked for this to be able to snap easily, but it isn't, so that's okay. We do know at least the goodness is out of them. I could have achieved that if I wanted this to go longer, but it started at 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. It is now about 9:45 the next day. So I think we've pretty much gotten all the goodness out of these vegetables and the bones as much as we possibly can. These will be discarded. There's no value left in them. You can't really put them in a compost because there's meat. The bones were in there. So, all right. I think we've done pretty good there. Now remember, I started out with the vegetables, and 2 quarts of water is what I put in there. So I'm going to, as you can see, this is draining off. I'm going to leave this in this bowl and let that finish draining. Now I have another little bowl here with a strainer. So I'm going to get my ladle, and I'm going to just ladle this out into the strainer. And what this is going to do, hopefully it's going to strain out some of the spices and the small vegetables pieces that are left in there. So I'm anxious to see. Now I think it's safe. And always pour away from you. Don't pour towards you. Probably not a good thing. I did add a little more water to this as it cooked down a little bit. So we've got almost 2 quarts. Now, if you can see some of the spices I put in there, remember I put some Italian seasoning in there and other things, you can see that, but if that offends you, then I would recommend lining your strainer with a coffee filter and or paper towels and draining it out that way. If you don't want this, I don't care. That doesn't bother me in the least. I'm fine with it. So good. We got about 2 quarts of broth. Now, you remember, we did not salt it. So I'm going to salt it now. I'm going to start out with about a teaspoon. I'll stir that in. And we're going to see what it tastes like. The reason I don't put salt in the beginning is because as it cooks, the salt will intensify and you may get a saltier broth than what you want. You don't have to salt this at all. You can leave it unsalted and then salt it when you use it for whatever application. I personally sometimes like to drink the broth. So I like a little bit of salt. That's just me. You can do whatever you think is best for you. Let's give this a little taste. See what we've got. I need a little more salt for me. Keep in mind, too, when you reheat this for whatever you're going to use it for, the salt will intensify again. So, like I said, it's up to you. Do whatever you think you want to do. Well, that's pretty tasty. All right. That's good. Remove this. Now, personally for me, I'm going to, hang on here, can't forget about this. Remember we were letting this drain? Can't forget about that. We're going to pour that in. Oh look, that brings it up to a nice 2 quarts. Alrighty. Now, I'm just going to fill up 2 1-quart jars and put the lids on. For now, I'm going to put them in my refrigerator for later use. You can preserve these by canning. You can put them in baggies or ice cube trays. You can freeze it if you want to and just use it as you wish. There's any number of ways you can do this. Those are 3 different ways that I've used. So, got a tad left, which I'll probably heat up and drink or just add to something today. All right. There it is, a nice broth made with vegetable scraps that you keep in the freezer, and water and a few spices and herbs. That's it. You have 2 quarts, a half a gallon of very nice broth that you did in the slow cooker or crock pot because it was virtually no work. That's it. That's all there is to it. The bulk of the process is just waiting. It's no big deal, right? Okay, so we've got this. I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to show you something. Do you remember what I did yesterday? I made some ricotta cheese. out of that milk that I thought might be just a little too old. This really is good because this enables you to not waste. So here's the ricotta. This feels like about a pound of ricotta. There was a little more, I think, than a half a gallon of milk. Let's see here. I want to show you this. See how thick that is? And when I make ricotta cheese, I like to use full fat milk. I just think it makes a better cheese and you actually get a little bit more of a yield. That's just me. I have no scientific proof of that. So let me taste this. It's really nice and very, very creamy. Now, it almost has a slight cottage cheese taste, but not as tart. I did put a total of 1/2 teaspoon of salt in this ricotta cheese. I happen to have some canning salt, so I just use that. But keep this covered. You can, and this freezes well, so you can freeze it if you need to. Sometimes I do freeze it. I put it in little sandwich bags, and so I can use a little bit at a time. But this is what you were similar to what you would buy in the store, ricotta cheese that you would use in lasagna and other dishes. You can cream this and use it similar to cream cheese, and make it sweet or make it savory. You can use it on pizza if you like. There's so many uses for ricotta cheese. Look it up. I think that you will be amazed at what you can do with it. And the fact that you can make it yourself out of milk that you think might just be going a little bit off. You don't have to dump the milk out. You don't have to get rid of it. You can do this with it just by using the procedure that I showed you. So, what did we do yesterday and finished up today? Did the ricotta cheese out of expired milk. We did 2 quarts of broth, which is really awesome. And basically, we did it out of things that we might have just thrown away or dumped down the drain. So I just want you to know that these things are easy to do. I hope this helps you for future use. And if I can do this, you can do it, okay? All right, listen, I love you guys very much. I'm so thankful that you're here. If you're new, please like, subscribe, and share. And because these are good things that people need to know, okay? All right, I love you guys. And as always, you just remember that little is much when God is in it, okay? All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.